Parsha 101 of Torah 101. So this week's Haftarah is supposed to be for Parshas Mishpatim, but because it is the Shabbos before the month of Adar, it's actually called Shekalim, and it's a different Haftarah. But we'll go through both Haftarahs anyways. The one for Parshas Mishpatim comes from the book of Jeremiah, and it speaks about how at the time there was a king called Tzidkiyahu of the southern kingdom, the northern tribes that had already been exiled, and at this point, even though Tzidkiyahu was kind of the kingdom of Judah was a vassal state to Babylonia. And it's going to go into the whole thing about the Jewish slaves. Now, the Parshas Mishpatim has a lot of laws, and one of the laws that it speaks about are the laws of the Jewish slave, bondman, bondwoman, etc. A Jewish person could become a slave within their own people if someone is just so destitute, they've got nothing, they could sell themselves as a slave and try to put together something to kind of work themselves up. Or if someone stole something they couldn't pay back, they might get sold as a slave until they could pay off the work, etc. Now, it might come to pass that this could be up to 6 years. After 6 years, during the Shemitah year, everyone's supposed to go free. It might come to pass that someone, after 6 years, is like, hey, I really like this arrangement. I want to stay here. I don't want to go out on my own. So the person is taken to the doorway, and they pierce his ear with an awl. And like Bala Mezuzah, like this ear that heard at Mount Sinai, that you are servants to God alone, is now, you're not listening to what you were told. And no matter what happens in the Yovel year, so every 50 years, all slaves go free no matter what. So that's the general idea. In this Haftarah, which would be read for Parshas Mishpatim, Yirmiyahu the prophet comes in this times of Tzidkiyahu, where there's a lot of confusion now because Babylonia is kind of in charge and what's going on, and etc. And one of the things that, okay, we have to renew our covenant, we do have to keep all the Torah mitzvahs, etc. So we're going to renew the covenant about the laws of the Jewish slaves. That's what everyone said they were going to do. Now, that's what they said, but that's not actually what they did. And they were not letting their slaves go free after 6 years. So Jeremiah comes down and he's like, you better do what you're supposed to do. The consequence for this is going to be exile. Just the same way that you're holding on to people and you're not letting them be free, exile, you're not going to be free because you're going to be in this other land, under other control, etc. But at the end, God says, I will, the same way that my covenant with day and night and light and dark, etc. is eternal and always, I will not forget my covenant with you, and eventually you'll be redeemed. And kind of a good lesson for us is sometimes, even unintentionally, we become slaves to other things. We forget what the ear heard at Mount Sinai, that we're only supposed to be serving God. So it might even be something like work or anything like that we say like, oh, this is an end unto itself, instead of regarding it as a means to an end. That everything in the physical world is supposed to be elevated to the spiritual, all in service of God. So we should remember what the ear heard, and remember what the end is, what the be all to end all is truly is, and not enslave ourselves to things other than what the truth is. Now, for the Shabbos Shekalim, the Haftarah comes from the book of Kings number 2. And part of what it is that on Titus Esther, the fast day before Purim, or if someone misses it, you give it on Purim, we give a half shekel. This is what they used to collect as an annual tax for the Bet Hamikdash that would go towards whatever it needed, kind of idea. So where this one takes place in this book of Kings is it's coming after the time of Athaliah. Athaliah was the daughter of Achav and Jezebel. Izebel's Jezebel. So they were the king and queen of the northern tribe. They had a daughter, Athaliah, and they married her off to the southern kingdom, because the kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of the Jewish people, had split into 2 kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the kingdom of Judah. And so Athaliah was not a great person, like her parents before her. They weren't exactly great people. After her husband died, she kind of wiped out anybody who might have a claim to the throne. There was one child, an infant, Yoash, who his aunt hid him for 6 years. And then the Kohen Gadol, the high priest Yoyada, led a rebellion to overthrow Athaliah, who had allowed idolatry to flourish in the land, etc., to overthrow her and to put Yoash as king. So when he was 7, he was made king, and he was going to rule for the next 40 years. Yoash listened to Yoyada, and he did what he was supposed to do. He was a good king. And one of the things they did is they went to this temple of Baal, and they destroyed everything. They were wiping out everything and get rid of all the idolatry, etc. They were still kind of private altars that people were using, which they were not supposed to once the Bet Hamikdash had been built. So that was something that later on he had to get on top of. But the general idea of what it speaks about here is it just goes through that Yoash says to the Kohanim, says to the priest, you got to take now from this kind of communal chest, etc. We got to make repairs to the temple, because the Bet Hamikdash stood for 410 years, and there's got to be maintenance going on. You can't just let it fall into disrepair. So it goes through some of the details, a little bit of the back and forth about how he is encouraging them and telling them, we got to make repairs on the temple, and we got to fix it up, and make sure it's worthy. It's a worthy house of God, etc. So it connects to this half shekel, which we'll be giving on the fast of Esther Purim time, that's where this Haftarah comes in. And that's the Haftarahs of the week.